Maybe it is the Kraken, which I would be totally fine with. They just open up a book and they're like, yeah, this is what people were talking about for centuries.
Yeah.
The Kraken.
Or you mix Moby Dick with the Kraken. Throw out the merman. And it's a whale-topus.
A whale-topus.
Those
Moby
are like,
Dick-pus.
I mean, those
Moby
are like,
Dick-pus. Hey, El Toddo.
what's going on?
We got a podcast, The Buff and the Blazer. If I was a listener, where would I go to find more?
You can check us out on our website, thebuffandtheblazer.com. Drew over there writes a article that goes along with every single episode.
You can find all kinds of little extras on the articles, and you can listen to the podcast right there. Also, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, we're on Twitter at Buff and Blazer. Follow us there.
Get those clicks, people.
The Buff and the Blazer.
Welcome to the Buff and the Blazer, episode 23. I'm Drew, and as always, I'm here with El Toddo.
What's going on?
And today, we're taking a deep dive into a little film called Underwater.
Miles deep.
Miles, directed by William Eubank and starring Kristen Stewart. And as custom dictates, El Toddo, what did you think after the credits rolled?
I was thoroughly entertained at the end of the movie. I liked it a lot. I thought for as bad as it could have been from a cheese factor, I thought they did a really good job, and all the acting was really good, and yeah, I was pretty entertained. There's like one big whiff in the movie, and we'll get to that at one point. But other than that, it was actually quite a bit better than I expected.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page. Here's the thing. Kristen Stewart, for me, she's kind of a hit and miss in terms of the films, the kind of film she chooses to be in. But I'll watch almost anything she's in because I think she's a really, really good actress. So going into it, I might have thought that maybe this film, it seemed like it was kind of more of a big action, kind of weird sci-fi film, so I wasn't sure if it was going to be all that great. But then once we got into it and it started rolling, I was pretty into what was going on for most of it. I got a little bit bored in the middle part of the film, and I would have liked to have learned a little bit about the creatures in the film. But I thought the film started out strong. I like when stories immediately just put you into the action.
Yeah, I really
like no
enjoyed
setup,
that
they
too.
just drop
No
you into the
setup.
story. I really like that about it, but it does have its drawbacks because it seemed like while it was a strength for the film, it also lacked a little bit of backstory in terms of what they were dealing with.
But isn't that part of it,
creatures.
right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's kind of a double-edged sword, but I think overall it worked more than it didn't in this film for me.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. There's a couple of misses,
Yeah.
but I really appreciated how it jumped right in and just like was total chaos right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I really like they kind of, to get around that, they kind of gave all the context in the credits, which I thought was
Yeah.
cool. Did you notice that? Like, were you reading
Yeah.
all the plans and looking all that during the credits?
Mm-hmm. Do you remember them dropping any kind of line that had any reference to the monsters
No.
in there?
No.
Okay, because I got a good sense of like what they were doing down there with the rig and everything. But
That's
I would
totally
like
something
to,
humans would do too. Just
yeah,
like
absolutely.
stupid beyond belief
Those shitty humans.
to try and drill oil down there. But yeah, I guess the only reference you can get to the monster is like that weird painting that what's her name? Emily?
Yeah.
Jessica Henwick's character
Mm-hmm.
When she finds that like painting when they're suiting up to put on all of the beefy ass 7 miles underwater pressure suits.
Yeah.
There's like some weird painting of like Medusa or something along those lines.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that's
I know
like
what you're
the
talking
thing,
about.
because I was thinking it was going to be a little more story in terms of like they, in an exploratory drill hole, they like busted into some cavern and let loose
Right.
something, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But
so let's get into that.
none
a
of
little
that
bit.
gets explained.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I guess the basic premise that they're down there because there's these big oil rigs going on. Like, first off, I guess you can consider this like sci-fi almost, right? I don't know if they call it sci-fi in the official genre, but this kind of tech is something that seems like it's a bit far away from us right now.
Yeah, don't they say that like we know more about space than the bottom of the ocean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it seems like building a rig of that size or multiple rigs, their whole thing.
Yeah, it
Is
looks like
like-
like a space station underwater.
Yeah, it's like Atlantis. You know, it's like this big circular thing with the drill
Mhm.
rig and the reactor thing in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that all. I guess you have to call it sci-fi because all that stuff is like so far beyond capabilities, right?
Yeah. And it's weird too, like when I love the shot when it takes you from the surface all the way down to the very base of the trench to the rig.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, but I definitely got
No.
those vibes. Like, you get the sense of the station from the outside, and then the reveal. Then you go inside and check out like the hallways and how empty everything is. Like, it's very much a 2001: A Space Odyssey vibe.
Mm.
But yeah, so Kristen Stewart gets into like the bathroom and she's kind of narrating in and out at certain parts, and then you're just immediately thrown into the action. And I thought that whole sequence was really well done.
Yeah.
Like it starts off really calm and nothing going on with just this like kind of dramatic monologue that Kristen Stewart's doing, talking about being alone at the bottom of the ocean, not knowing the days, and then all hell breaks loose, and all you know, she's like sprinting down the hallway, and it's like Titanic meets, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's,
I mean the whole rig or the whole floor or whatever that she's in is collapsing and busting in on the pressure.
Yeah.
And I really liked all that shit, like the
Yeah.
running through and the getting blasted onto the ground by water and stuff. Like,
Mhm.
I liked all that stuff. I really liked how they just jumped into it, and then like things started to develop.
Yeah.
But
And I think they did a really good job of showing how dangerous it is down there.
yeah,
Like, you feel how dangerous it is down there in every shot. Like, everything just feels claustrophobic and something's going to burst at any second and just implode.
yeah. In the beginning, when they're crawling through that collapsed hallway
Yeah.
after they dig homeboy TJ Miller out
Yeah.
of the rubble, that part made me quite uncomfortable. I wasn't terribly claustrophobic in most of the movie, but
Uh-huh.
that one scene, I was just like, "Oh man, I want this scene to be over." It did not look fun, and I thought with all those aspects, they did a really good job of, like you said, you know, really portraying how dangerous of a physical situation is absent the whole monster thingy.
Yeah.
Just the pressure and being that far under the ocean and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, now that I think about it, I wonder if it would have been even more interesting if the film was just about them being in that oil rig and them actually having an incident, having nothing to do with monsters, and having to get to that escape point just because the pressure is like about to kill them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, a movie like that would be interesting, I'm sure, still.
Yeah.
But with a you know, when you're going that deep into the ocean, you can't not have a monster, right? I mean,
Yeah,
those
that's
are
true.
like the oldest myths in our human history is fucking sea monsters, you know?
Well, to be fair, I mean, we've never gone down that far. So for all we know, those things are down there. So
From
it's,
an evolutionary standpoint, I don't think they would, look like octopus and have
yeah,
arms like humans.
they look
like
a little squishy to be surviving under there.
Octopus, freaking human thing,
Yeah,
Kraken.
Davy Jones, Pirates of the Caribbean down there. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about those things.
Okay.
So, that's a pretty big plot point, and I don't know if we want to get into super specific detail for those who haven't seen it, but it's available for streaming. Did that whole aspect of the movie work for you, with like the monster creatures?
It worked a lot better when you don't see them, I think. And if it would have just like, maybe just, they like dabbled between ghost and biological entity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like a weird, I don't know. No, it didn't work for me. That's my one big hang up with the whole thing is I wish they would have,
because it wasn't scary.
not because it wasn't scary, because it was just like they couldn't pick a type of monster and they smashed a few together.
I gotcha. Okay.
Kind of thing.
Just kind of a boring monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. I was a little
Not re-
disappointed myself.
Yeah, because like the way they move around is like ghostly,
Yeah.
but they're presented as being like almost like cephalopods.
Mm-hmm.
Cephalopods with an anthropoid upper half kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is cephalopods the right word for like octopus and squid? Or is that freaking seals? No, those are
Fuck if
pinnipeds.
I know.
Yeah, I think it's right. Whatever.
Yeah, I think they're more related to aliens. So when we get the little baby one and they stick it on the table, that's the total vibe I got when I saw it. I was like, that looks like a little xenomorph, a baby xenomorph from Alien. And then
Yeah.
they even pull out the gag where, you think it's dead and they poke it and then it comes up and tries to bite your head off.
But it like changes forms as it matures, apparently.
Yeah.
Because the teenager ones are like merdudes with octopus bottoms.
Yeah, those look more like mer people to me. And then when you get the big daddy,
the mom or whatever, it's like the
Your-
Kraken.
yeah, the Kraken with the teeth.
Yeah, so it's confusing. The monster part's confusing. I actually think I'm coming around to your premise that it might have been more interesting to just have that ordeal and
Yeah.
no supernatural element, you know?
And I guess it still could have been a sci-fi that way.
Well, think
But
about The
either way-
Martian, right?
Yeah,
So that's
Exactly.
there's how much worse would that movie have been if there was,
Martian aliens.
yeah, some type of weird space thingy chasing him
Yeah.
around the whole time.
That's a great example. That's
Just
exactly
the
what I'm talking about.
accomplishment of pulling off staying alive
Yeah,
is pretty triumphant, And this movie
Yeah.
is like that too. And I kind of do like the way they ended it
yeah, me too.
in terms of like how you don't know where the monsters come from, and then it's like a giant, kind of cover up,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody will ever know except her.
Yeah.
She's the only one who sees it. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like I said, I like that they throw you right into it, and it's weird because it's a strength, but it also leaves you kind of wanting a little bit of explanation too.
I just want to know. I'm perfectly happy with the ending,
Yeah,
but if it was revealed how they unleashed the monsters, I would have appreciated that. Not
Yeah,
that they
that's
were
true.
just like there, because obviously it probably took years to build that shit,
yeah.
and they did.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like, why at that moment?
Yeah, why did the monster decide to start fucking with it when there's already like a decade of infrastructure built down there, you know?
They're like, that's it. You took all our oil. We're pretty pissed now.
Is it the oil monster?
It could be. That's the thing I wanted to ask you too, not about the oil, but what's up with their little like mermaid tail grappling hooks? Like, did you get that?
Yeah, it's like a squid. You know how squids shoot out there? They got those two really long tentacles with the paddle shaped sticker
Is that what they were going
hands.
for?
I think that's what that is. But
Okay.
they're a little more prehensile than say a squid thing. But I don't know, from a biology standpoint, it's hard to wrap your head around a lot of the monster.
So I'm reading this guy's review on Rotten Tomatoes, and he says, "The Abyss meets Aliens with a bit of the Poseidon Adventure, a lot of Pacific Rim, and a dash of the Meg in this subaquatic sci-fi."
I don't know what.
You know what the Meg is?
No.
It's that film with like the gigantic prehistoric shark.
Oh, Megalodon?
Yeah,
They made a movie about that?
Yeah, called The Meg.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of a mixture of a lot of those different elements.
I haven't
But-
seen Pacific Rim.
Yeah, it's like a bang 'em up, like
Starship
Transformers
Troopers.
versus
type
Alien. Yeah. But so even despite all that, I guess at its core, it's like a survival story. That's what you can call this thing. It's a total survival story, and it works on that level. I think for me, that's what was the
Yeah.
strength of the film.
Yeah, for sure. Problem
like,
solving.
Exactly,
And,
yeah.
and, dealing with crazy shit happening. Like some of the scenes when they were
Yeah.
walking around with the suits on the
Mhm.
ocean floor, where I thought they did a great job with showing how an individual is totally like separated
Mhm.
from what's going on around them in a situation like that, but they're also in it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, have you ever scuba dove or anything?
I've never gone diving.
So I've dove a shitload. I got certified when I was like 14. But
Okay.
when you're down there, you're like, you can see all the people you're interacting with, but you're like in your own world from a sensory perspective because your
Yeah.
vision is restricted from the mask and your
Mhm.
hearing is completely, when you're scuba diving, it's completely hearing totally different stuff, all these pitches and stuff. And I thought
Yeah.
the sections when like the sound would drown out and it was just like her breathing inside her suit, trying to
Yeah.
like do whatever. I really liked how they did those parts.
Well, that's interesting what you said there, because it's like you do get that the way they film their perspective, like you're inside their helmet with them there.
Yeah,
It's like you get to share in that isolation.
totally.
It's actually a really good point. So yeah, that adds to that sense of, I guess, danger underwater like that too.
Totally.
That
Yeah.
was really well done.
All of those aspects, the whole water, I thought they did a really good job with realistically portraying as as well as you can when you're having a suit that doesn't exist,
Well, that's the crazy thing. Like, I never once questioned the fact that they were underwater,
Same here.
and most of that stuff isn't even there.
Yeah.
Like, I think the director was saying that what they did to kind of simulate that is they filmed those scenes in like a pitch black backdrop in a dark room with just their helmet lights, and then they shot in like particles with like I don't know, fans or whatever, so they were kind of blowing around
Really?
to give them reference for the water points.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you get like the bits of debris and particles down there in the water, and
Yeah.
I don't know, it looked really realistic to me.
Yeah, there was like it did look quite realistic, but there were a few scenes like when they were walking around
Uh-huh.
and like those suits would weigh a shitload, so it's
Yeah.
like, okay, like whatever.
Mhm.
All the
I think
stuff
the
with
parts-
the suits I really enjoyed. I didn't find myself thinking, oh, that couldn't happen, or maybe I don't know
Yeah.
enough about water pressure to know
Yeah.
if you go
There
that
was,
if a suit could withstand the pressure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I like
Is that
how
even humanly possible?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Scuba
know.
diving, I mean, you go down like You start going into hundreds of feet deep, and you're like, you got to do all kinds of different measures, you know? You got to come up slow and go down slow. But if they have all of this, nobody has a problem believing they have pressurized systems for spaceships in movies, so I don't see why anyone would have a problem with this. I don't.
Yeah. No, actually didn't have any problem with the science or anything that they were trying to show. Everything was pretty believable, like in terms of a sci-fi film.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with the fact that those suits seemed to be practical. Like, they're actually there. I could have swore some aspect of those suits was CG or something. Because they just look so gnarly.
They do look really gnarly. That'd be cool if some people got to keep them.
Yeah, I don't know.
If they are real suits. And you said that was in the commentary or whatever?
Yeah, it was like a 15-minute behind-the-scenes featurette. And, yeah, the actors were just saying how heavy those fucking suits were. They were like, they weighed as much as the actors. And they were, like, walking around in it. So they were like, it really sucked, but it was really easy to act in because you feel all the weight on you as you're, like, walking. So I guess it wasn't hard for them to simulate walking around in water because they just felt like the whole world was on top of them anyways.
What did you think of the scenes when they were like had the helmets off, but they still had the suits on when they would like make it to a new location and get in?
I thought those were cool. I liked the whole sequence when they were suiting up for the first time.
Yeah.
Like that was all really cool. And you got a sense that everything was real and functional. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah, for sure.
That one sequence where they're being dropped into the water and being lowered in it for the first time, I loved how that was shot.
Yeah.
Like, and I said it out loud as I was watching it because we got the perspective shot in the helmet with Kristen Stewart, and you see the water bubbling behind her.
Yeah.
And I was like, do it. And I wanted to see the water level go above the visor into her perspective, and they did it. And I was like, yes, it's really nice shot.
Yeah, it was really cool. All of the suit action was really cool.
Yeah.
Especially
even like when they're in the hallways and shit, like the way they're shooting things, it was all really nice.
Yeah, Kristen Stewart is so tiny when she has that suit on. It's that's what I think a part that makes it really believable. Because like all the suits are like the same size. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Because like the captain, Vincent Cassell, he's like his fits him pretty well. Same with T.J. Miller.
Yeah.
Like they carry it a lot better. And then the other guy, Smith, John Gallagher Jr., his character, he's like a little smaller than them, and they all look like the same size, and both the chicks look like really tiny in them.
Yeah,
which kind of plays into like the whole plot line of like they just have to survive and take whatever they can get their hands on.
Yeah,
and I like that whole aspect of the movie. It's really well done.
Yeah, me too. And we'll talk a little bit more about them too. I just want to ask, for you, was there anything in the plot otherwise, though, that was hard for you to follow or hard to believe? Like in terms of trying to get from place A to place B to escape?
No, I think they did it. I mean, they showed all the topo maps in the opening credits, and then he had the big lit up topo map of the entire facility on the table in the control room.
Yeah.
And they laid it all out like, okay, we got to get to this spot and then drop down to here, and then we can get to this spot, and then we got to walk across, the open ocean floor following something. It wasn't just like we have a bearing on a compass and we're going to follow that.
Right.
It was there's a power line or whatever that goes to this older abandoned kind of part of the whole rig, right?
Yeah.
It's like one of the initial places that they landed. That's part of the whole plot line with the captain.
Right.
Yeah, I thought all that was super believable, and I like the attention to detail with the maps and stuff.
Yeah, no, super cool. And I know you're kind of a stickler for that stuff too.
Yeah.
So that's good.
And even on a movie where you have to like suspend belief in terms of like, is it realistic or not? It's still good to put that context in there from like a making it more believable standpoint.
Yeah. It's all about the continuity. Like you want to keep everything, and they have people that are supposedly in charge of just keeping track of that stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it just doesn't come through, but it's like If a prop was on a table in one shot, their job is to make sure it was there in the next shot, like from the angle and whatever. If someone said something, they got to make sure it follows in the next scene. But
Just
you
hire
see, like,
poker players, dude. Just hire poker players to stay on set and just tell you because they watch everything and they'll see everything. I'm serious.
Poker players.
I'm totally serious. Every little movement they'll notice.
Yeah. Well, shit. I wouldn't even know how to argue against that. Well,
so what about you on the plot line? Is there anything that didn't fit for you or didn't line up?
Not really. I thought so. They explain just how like pretty impossible it is to get to that objective that they're trying to get to, that first like initial station or whatever.
Yeah.
And even when the captain mentions it, they're like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And how many miles is it? It's like a mile down and a mile across or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. And I felt like the time it took for them to get there at the end lined up with how far he said it would take. Like, I got the sense that it was really arduous for them to get there. The only weird thing for me was that as they came into closer contact with the monster merman Kragan people, it's almost like they were just kind of fucking with them. Like they kind of just drop in and then like lift them up and then let them go. And
yeah, they're so they're so powerful that they're dismantling this giant, marvel of modern or future engineering that's built out of like the strongest steel and all pressurized and crazy. They're ripping this thing to shreds with their bare hands.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they can't just swoop down when they're all running across the ocean floor, just grab all five with one long tentacle and pop each helmet off with the other tentacle and pop all their heads.
Yeah, like when the captain gets kind of dragged, it was weird because it's just kind of like they took him for a joyride up.
Well, okay, so they were going up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part of the movie had me fairly confused. Because when they took off, I couldn't tell if they went up or like sideways or down.
To me, it seemed like they were going up.
Yeah, well, it only makes sense that they were going up. But how did Nora get back to the ground?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, the other thing too is how did she even get up there with him?
Well, she was holding on to the wire.
That's right. Right. Yeah. Okay. So
but how did like she get back down and he got annihilated or whatever?
I don't know. Maybe they just didn't show her falling to the surface again.
Yeah, I don't know. That part was fairly confusing. That's the only part where I was like, oh, I don't get what happened there.
And the other thing, too, is I thought it was kind of weird that they would take them up. Because my initial reaction is like, I would think the closer they get to a higher sea level, the worse it is for them. But
No.
I don't know.
No, because they'll pop. You come up too fast, you'll pop. Because
okay.
all of the pressure is
so that's what they were
releasing
trying
and
to
the
do.
oxygen
It's
is
just
expanding, I think.
So they're just trying to pop them and explode them by taking them up?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know you have to ascend really slowly, but these depths aren't comprehensible from a human standpoint. So
Yeah.
the suits
I know.
have to be badass.
Right, yeah.
You're 7 miles down. What is that? 35,000 feet or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. Hold on, just out of curiosity, I want to see how deep that trench is again.
They say it's on one of the the context.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it's on one of the maps.
So 11,034 meters, 36,200 feet deep.
That's deep.
Yeah. That's quite a bit deep. Shit. Well, yeah. So, I don't know. For me, I didn't really have any major gripes with like continuity or any of the quote-unquote science or science fiction for that matter. And I'll just kind of echo what you said. I really liked how they ended the film.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask you
For
about
me,
the resolution.
Yeah, the two strongest parts for me were the beginning and the end of the film. I think it got you into the story and dropped you in really fast, and you just got involved with what was going on. And then at the end, I liked how they finished off the story.
Yeah, we don't need to give it away, but
No.
it's not a total happy ending, which is cool.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you would expect much of a happy ending in terms of how the film was going up to that point anyways. So I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly. I'd be interested to know if they could actually build a craft that could go that deep.
I don't know, man.
I don't think so.
There's some badass submarines out there, but I don't know about that deep.
Well, yeah, those subs that they always take down to check out the Titanic wreckage, those things are like super pressurized and gnarly, but that's nothing compared to these depths.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk. Oh, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say it's like the deepest part of the ocean.
Yeah, it is practically like space. We don't. We know
I
nothing about it.
got a question for you. So, like, is there a surface level base as well?
I didn't pick up on that at all.
Because, like, in the beginning, you like go down like almost like an elevator type thing, right? All the way down.
Yeah.
So I feel like if there was, what I'm getting at is like a big part of the movie is they're trying to find escape pods. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And most of them have all been used already as they weave their way through the collapsing structure.
Right.
What happens to those people in those escape pods? They just fire up to the ocean and fire out into a bob, and then they're just bobbing there in the ocean, and there's like a beacon. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of that.
Yeah, like how that ends up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Again, it goes back to that whole thing of like they're just focusing all in on that moment.
Yeah. And well, that's kind of the point, right?
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
all
yeah.
of her monologue spiel at the beginning and end
Mm-hmm.
is kind of to be in the moment.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm
Which
right
I
there
liked.
with you. That's like my one gripe with the film is I want a little bit more of like what happens and where did all this come from and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just me.
No,
It doesn't
I'm with
really
you, man.
It doesn't really affect my score all that much. Anyway.
The monster has no motive besides humans are dicks, drilling oil everywhere. And
and they're just kind of there.
yeah.
But yeah,
Give that
that's
monster either an origin or a motive.
fine. Yeah. Maybe it is the Kraken, which I would be totally fine with. They just open up a book and they're like, "Yeah, this is what people were talking about for centuries."
Yeah.
The Kraken.
Or you mix Moby Dick with the Kraken. Throw out the merman. And it's a whale-topus.
Oh, Eltopus.
Those
Moby
are like,
Dick-pus.
I mean, those
Moby
are like,
Dick-pus.
those are like what the images I get in my head when you know somebody's trying to write a monster for a movie like this. 'Cause
Yeah.
you can write the entire movie without figuring out what the monster is. And it's like you got sea monsters all up on a board, on a conspiracy theorist board with lines everywhere.
Yeah.
And you got a merman and a kraken and a Moby Dick and some octopus and some squid. Maybe throw a great white in there and you just throw darts at it and pick a monster.
Yeah, that's TJ Miller's room. He had that in his room with his little stuffed bunny and is like that's totally something I see with his character. That's why he's down there in the first place, because he wanted to see if the dick puss was real.
I really liked his character.
Yeah, so did I. Let's talk a little bit about him. The people in the suits. TJ Miller, have you seen him in anything else? I've seen him.
I've watched a fair amount of his stand-up, and I've watched almost all of Silicon Valley. I think I'm almost done with it. And he was in that for a long time, and then he got fired, I think. But they kind of did a cool way to get rid of his character. But yeah, he's super funny. And didn't he do like a Yogi Bear movie where it was like a cartoon thingy?
Yeah. I don't remember if it was Yogi Bear, but I know what you're talking about. Something like that, yeah.
Yogi 3D or something.
Yeah. I'm looking at his filmography. The first film I ever saw him in was She's Out of My League.
Oh yeah, I forgot. He's super.
Yeah.
He brings a ton of great one-liner comedy and a little bit of levity
Yeah.
to a
I'm glad he
really
was in this
dire
film.
situation.
Yeah. He played Stainer in that movie. But yeah, you need a character like that in a movie like this.
Yeah, it's all doom and gloom
Mm-hmm.
if he doesn't get in there.
He was like the one character I wanted to be in it for a long time.
I love the way his character gets dispatched.
It's pretty messed up.
It was my favorite death in the movie. There's a bunch of deaths in the movie, so we're not giving away too much.
Yeah, spoilers.
But I absolutely love the way his character dies.
Yeah. No, he was really good. I really liked Vincent Castle. Like, I've never seen him in anything.
Is it Castle or
Vincent
Cassell?
Cassell? Yeah. He was in Black Swan. That's right. Okay, yeah, I have seen him in that then.
He feels like he should have been in Atomic Blonde or...
yeah.
Oh, I've seen him in a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like him. He's really good as the old captain, the steady, always cool-headed captain, you know?
Yeah. No, you're right. He's been in a bunch.
Yeah,
I
I've
guess
seen
he's
him
one of
all
those
over
guys-
the place.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah, that's where I know him from. He's in the Bourne. He's one of the assassins chasing after old Matt Damon.
That's right.
Yeah. They have that
Yeah,
epic
yeah.
fight. Isn't that in, like, when they're in Morocco or some shit?
Yeah, and that's the kind of character I see him playing. Someone like that.
Yeah, maybe that's why I think he should be in Atomic Blonde, because he was in a movie just like that.
Yeah. He does have like a Bond villain type look to him. He was really cool. I thought he did a good job as the like steady hand of the crew.
I liked how there wasn't a ton of characters, and there was not barely any character development until
Yeah.
like the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked that. I like how it just threw you in, and you kind of slowly figure out things about the characters as the movie goes along.
Yeah. And some of them have some pretty decent little arcs too going on, like Jessica Henwick, Emily.
Yeah,
She starts off as this super green person that's like
research
Not down.
assistant.
yeah, and she's not much of a daredevil, and by the end she kind of gets through a lot, and
She has quite the evolution in bravery,
yeah,
which is
Mhm.
cool.
yeah, and she's a really good actress too.
Yeah, I enjoyed her
Yes, sir.
character a lot. I enjoyed everybody in it, and there's not a lot of people in it. There's like, 10 people in the movie?
Yeah, not a whole lot. Oh, she's been cast in The Matrix.
The new one?
Yeah, Matrix 4.
Did you ever see 3? I never saw 3. I saw 2, and I think I turned it off at one point and was done with the old Matrix
Yeah,
action.
I wasn't a fan of much of the sequels. Oh shit! She played one of the sisters. Oh no, not one of the sisters. I think she was. Yeah, that's right. Nymeria. But yeah, no, she's in Game of Thrones. That's where I've seen her from.
Mm.
She looked familiar to me. But anyways, yeah, she was really good in this film.
Yeah,
And I think out of all the
liked-
characters, she kind of has like the biggest arc in terms of from where she starts and to where she ends.
Yeah, totally. And she kind of goes through the some of the craziest shit on the whole thing.
Yeah, that scene where they're
Where she-
walking through all the tentacles.
I'm talking before
That's
that
really
when
cool.
she was just alone with Homeboy,
Yeah.
who's like incapacitated. He's incapacitated because his oxygen levels are extremely low, right?
Yeah, I guess.
So, yeah, that's another thing that I kind of liked
Uh-huh.
is they put effort in to explain how they were staying alive.
Yeah.
Because, like, he does get fucked up, but the reason he can't walk or do anything is just because all he can do is lay and, like, barely breathe, right? Because
Yeah.
that's how much little oxygen his little device can provide. It can't provide
Mm-hmm.
the necessary amount for him to be active.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was cool. That scene with the tentacles, though, I didn't even realize they were, like, dragging him.
Oh, yeah.
The way it was shot.
Yeah,
Because they would like cut to him, and I'd be like, "Where the hell's this dude chilling?" And they're like dragging him the whole time. So I thought that was kind of weird.
But before they meet back up, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's just out there by herself.
Mm-hmm.
I thought like that would have been the craziest shit to go through the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dragging your lover through the bottom of the ocean with limited oxygen, not even knowing where you're going, but still she had the wherewithal to keep following the line, right?
Yeah. And out of anyone, you would think she'd be the one to be the most easily lost.
Yeah,
And that's what was cool about her arc.
for sure.
Have you seen Kristen Stewart in much of anything?
No, so I've seen her. I'm aware of her. I know she's been in all those Twilight movies and
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff, and I've seen her on like interviews and stuff on Hot Ones. I remember seeing her.
Okay. Was this your kind of first film, though, watching her in, like star in?
For sure, yeah. I can't think. I'm looking down her list, and I don't think I've seen any of these movies. I haven't seen any of the Twilights, and I really liked her. She did a cool way of portraying how insane the situation was on her
Yeah.
face,
Mm-hmm.
but trying to like keep her cool
Yeah.
the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And she has quite the arc. I wouldn't say not as much because she's quite a badass right from the beginning, just in terms
Yeah.
of like her. She's a mechanical engineer and she got her shit together.
Yeah.
But she kind of becomes like she does grow quite a bit in the movie too. She's like got her shit together more than everybody by the end of it.
That's the weird thing about her, too, is when they cast an actress and they're in a role where they're just supposed to know, like, a lot. They're some kind of engineer or scientist or whatever, and sometimes you just don't buy it.
Yeah.
She totally sold the fact that she's, like, the mechanical engineer. She's familiar with everything that's gone on, even though our first glimpse of her was just in that bathroom facility.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you learn about her character on the way just because of all the stuff she knows how to do.
Yeah.
And that's what was kind of cool, like without having to go into her backstory. So that is one strength of like just being thrown in. It's like you learn a little bit about them each along the way. And it wasn't so much their development that I was kind of wanting more of. It was more of like the situation almost solely about the monsters too. Like,
Yeah. That's my
background to
only hang up.
But yeah, I like the
what
way-
they were.
I like the way the characters kind of become developed as the story goes along because you learn a little bit more about each of them.
Yeah, you don't really learn what makes Nora tick until the very end of the movie, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
When they're having that really candid conversation as they're dragging Homeboy across the ocean.
Yeah.
That's kind of when like everything comes together from a character development standpoint.
Right.
But yeah, she's really good. I want to see her in more stuff. I want to see her in more. This is kind of actiony a little bit. She had a couple of scenes where she's like mobbing through the hallways and getting blasted and
Mhm.
jumping through stuff. I like that a lot.
Yeah, she's in a lot of really like deep, heavy indie films, and she does a really good job with like dramatic roles. So I'll basically watch anything she's in. She's really pretty good.
Yeah, if you think about it too, there is so much of this movie that's just her face and like
Yeah.
breathing and not even in like the completely opposite best way from Capone. How Capone is just Tom Hardy's face, but like he's not going through any situation like she's going through, and that's the kind of difference, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I absolutely love the scenes when her helmet's on and it like the sound cuts out and you're just hearing her breathing really heavy inside
Yeah.
the helmet.
I loved any time the camera was in her helmet.
Mm-hmm.
She's very good at like emotive acting.
Yeah. Bravo,
Yeah.
Kristen.
She's good. Anyone that was like a favorite for you?
I guess T.J. Miller's poodle. His little stuffed animal poodle. I don't know. There's not. I mean, probably if I had to pick one, it would be Captain.
Yeah.
But
I always love
I
when they
liked
give
all-
characters
all the characters kind of fit nicely with the situation, you know.
Yeah, I thought they were well cast, and I like the diversity of personalities you get.
We got to give Rodrigo a shout out.
Oh yeah,
Mamadou Athey. That's a pretty
Athey.
cool name.
Yeah.
He's a nobleman, dude. He gives up the shitty helmet. Or
Yeah,
he takes the shitty helmet for himself, knowing it's going to fail.
Yeah.
He died
and
with
he's like-
honor.
He's like one of the first characters you meet too, which is cool. I like that.
Yeah.
But
And he knows what the hell's or he doesn't know, but he knows something crazy's going on. And
Yeah.
I thought that's another thing that I kind of liked, that they never really had the characters discuss what they all really thought was going on, even though they all knew it.
Yeah, that
You know
was
what I
kinda
mean?
weird.
The whole kind of they know they're kind of being hunted monsters thing,
Right.
but nobody ever really says it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I thought that was kind of a cool little angle, like they were scared to say it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's almost like the situation they were in was more dire than the monsters from a physical standpoint, just being in a collapsing dealie like that.
Yeah, at the bottom of the Marianas Trench.
Yeah, so the monsters were like a second thought. It's like, who cares what these things do? We got to figure out a way out of here. I thought that was kind of cool.
It's almost like that should have been the main plot point.
Maybe.
It's fine. Like I said, if anything, you're almost raising my score a little bit with this film.
I actually enjoyed it, man. I
It wasn't
didn't
bad.
think it was going to be that good, but it's not like a great movie, blow me away or anything, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Let's get into, I think some of the coolest parts of this film is all of the techie film things going on.
Yeah.
Like cinematography. This film is beautifully shot.
Yeah.
I got to check out who the director of photography is on this film because, oh my God, that first sequence as the hallway's collapsing, that whole thing up until you get to the collapsed like tunnel that they're crawling through.
Yeah.
It's like every shot of that sequence is beautiful. And I like how they weren't afraid to do like a lot of these weird tilty angles and just really be artistic with the camera. I love when films do that as opposed to just the boring like straight up medium shot, wide shot.
Well, yeah, it's the situation they're in lends itself to some really strange angles, especially when they're outside of the rig and they're out on the ocean floor.
Mm-hmm.
They did all kinds of crazy stuff, and it even got a little bit disorienting. And I think that's what they were trying to do, is because who knows how disorienting that would be in real life.
Right.
To be flipped around and, you know, just something as simple as like when they make it to their first situation and they have to jump from one deck to the other, and it's like a pretty far jump, but they're underwater, so it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
How they shot that, almost like going over, you know, with the jump down. I really liked everything about how it was shot.
And aside from like just the beauty of how everything looks, he did a great job of showing you the stakes and the amount of danger everyone was in, just by how he framed everything. And again, like that claustrophobia that you get in a lot of those tight spaces when you're up in their face.
Yeah.
That all helps the story and like sells the vision. Yeah, Bohan Bazelli, that's his name.
Bohan.
And he's done a bunch of TV, a bunch of films. He did he's doing a Peter Pan film, I guess they're doing. Interesting.
Peter Pan.
He did The Lone Ranger, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Yeah, he has a pretty long filmography as a director of photography. I thought it was great.
That scene when they crawl through in the beginning, when they got to crawl through that hallway that's collapsed, made me so uncomfortable. And the camera does a lot of that twisty type of stuff in that when they're in there.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I just think about filming that, it probably was way more comfortable for the actors, but to portray how claustrophobic that is and make the watcher completely claustrophobic and uncomfortable,
yeah,
is a really good job.
The other thing too is it's kind of a bummer. This seems like a total film you would want to see on the big screen,
Yeah, I would.
and it's
I just watched it, and we're almost into June now, and the sun ain't going down. So I watched it with like sun not still shining, but totally still light
Yeah.
outside,
Mhm.
and I'm kind of bummed because it's a pretty dark movie, and I wish I would have watched it in complete darkness. Because I had a couple of glares and stuff going on.
It's a total theater movie. Like even the sound effects and the breathing and stuff.
Yeah.
On a sound system, that probably just makes you feel even worse.
Yeah, and I did turn up my sound bar and woofer is loud, like really loud, because there's so many little mer monster kraken dudes, blasting the rig, like hitting it and ripping it to shreds.
Mm-hmm.
The whole time.
Yeah.
So like that bass of them hitting it was really, I liked that a lot. And did you like how they would all get shook around? Like when they were in that one, pod thing going down that cable, trying to get to that other, and the whole thing would get hit and they'd all get jerked back and forth. I really liked that.
Yeah, just you totally buy where they are.
Yeah.
With like every aspect. And that's what I thought was the big strength of this film. Like even with the monsters, regardless of how you feel about it, you really get the sense of how much danger they're in down there. Which is why I think it would be cool if you just ran with that. But yeah, it was so well done. Did you have like a favorite scene or a favorite shot? I told you mine with them being lowered into the water.
Yeah. The scene when TJ Miller dies.
Okay.
Because they get to that part in the tunnel that's collapsed and they have to swim under
Right.
it, and how scary is that? Not only are you under the 7 miles under the surface of the ocean, you're in a tunnel as well that's half filled with water.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I liked that scene. I liked how they all had to go through there, and they worked in the cable, They worked in the connection safety cable. Did you notice? So each one of those suits, I believe, had like a buddy cable.
Yes.
Did you notice like the safety OSHA signs around that said like nobody works alone, it's against company policy, the buddy system works, all that kind of stuff?
I did see those.
Little details like that make it a lot more believable.
Yeah, they had really good set design in this movie.
Yeah.
I bet you they hired a bunch of people like that work on oil rigs. They're
Totally.
like, well, what would be up on an oil rig out in the middle of the Atlantic or something, or the Pacific?
Yeah.
That's really cool. But yeah, I did notice all that stuff. Trying to think what else. We talked a little bit about what were you gonna say?
We got to get into the effects and the monsters.
That's what I was gonna ask you about.
Okay.
We talked a little bit about how they look, but what did you really think about their design? Like,
well, I don't know, because there's like I said, there's a few different stages of the monster.
mm-hmm.
But then is there like a big egg? Is that an egg near the end? Is it like a nest of monsters?
I have no idea, dude. Because you see like the big kraken head thing, and then a bunch of the little mer people, all like swimming out of the tentacles. It was really
well. They're
weird.
like stuck in it, right?
Yeah.
They're like kind of stuck in it,
Mm-hmm.
and they're about to hatch. I don't know.
I guess then there's all that weird like ectoplasm stuff. It's really.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if all the mer people were just a bunch of like little mer sperm. That the big like, maybe the big kraken monster was like it was mating season, and it was like releasing all its little mer sperm. I don't know.
Oh, I could buy that.
Is that? I don't think that's too far fetched.
What I don't like about the monster is they made it like an anthropoid on the upper half when it's like a teenager.
Yeah.
But it still has like a monster mouth and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But it has like...
Yeah, the tail or whatever.
No. Like the bottom half is like an octopus, right? Or a squid. They don't have legs, okay? But they have regular human arms and like shoulders like a human, like a profile.
Right.
But then the big one is like just like a giant octopus, right? A kraken.
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me.
And then the little one is an octopus. So why do the teenagers have arms? And then like the scene when they're like mobbing into a new pod after making a quick journey across some water,
Yeah.
and she looks back up and it's like standing on the balcony of the rig looking down on them
Yeah.
like it's the upper floor of a motel.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't like that. Felt like a bad choice. Why is it standing if it doesn't have legs? And if it's a sea creature, why is it acting like gravity's a thing for it?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I didn't
I'm
like.
looking up
I didn't like
pictures.
that. Oh, is there pictures?
I'm looking at pictures of this thing, and I can't even. I still don't have a good idea what this thing is or what it looks like. It's really weird. But yeah, they do look like anthropomorphic.
Just on from the waist up.
Yeah. We'll see in this picture. It looks like they have two pair of legs.
What?
Yeah, and like webbed arms and fingers.
Where are all the tentacles?
Like
I don't know. I mean, most of these pictures I'm seeing aren't what was in that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really weird. It's a bit
I
of
got
a
lost,
it's a bit
like,
of a
looking at these.
whiff on the monster. I mean, why didn't you make it Godzilla?
Are you looking at the picture of Godzilla?
Yeah.
That would have been cool too if you just inserted this into the Godzilla.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. It
franchise.
would have fit way better.
Yeah.
And this is, what is it, Cthulhu?
Uh-huh.
That's the monster that Godzilla fights?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so just make that. Oh, maybe that's what this is. And then Godzilla underwater too. Godzilla goes underwater and fights the monster.
I would actually kind of be down for that.
I'm down for any Godzilla movies. Like I watched all of the newer ones and the King Kongs, and I dig them.
Really?
Yeah, I totally dig
Oh,
them,
shit.
dude.
Okay, cool. We'll
Yeah.
have to do one of those.
I like ridiculous monsters, and I feel like we didn't get enough of the monsters in this, and they didn't really. The monsters weren't consistently something. They were
I
kind
getcha,
of
yeah.
different throughout the movie,
Yeah, it's really weird.
and that was weird, you know.
No, I get the criticism, and it's confusing. It makes it confusing.
Because
You
like
just don't
sometimes
know.
they're like shadowy kind of monsters, and sometimes they're like these slimy up close. It's weird.
That's the other. That's
It's
the other
weird.
thing too. It's like in one scene you feel like they're totally like they're out to hunt, and then other times it's like they're kind of just chilling out and just want to fuck with them.
Yeah,
And then at other times it's like they're not harmful at all.
yeah, it's kind of strange.
They're kind of all over the place, physically and in terms of their personalities and their demeanor.
Yeah, it's all over the place with the monsters. It's a bit of a whiff. Pick one thing and stay with it, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. There's not a whole lot more I could say about the monsters. I think. Do you have any?
No,
Other-
everything else is great in the movie, but the monsters is a little strange. I'm not sure
I will say though,
what they are.
They didn't look like CG or anything. I thought
No,
they
they
were
looked
done well.
creepy, but they also looked different every time you saw them.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times you just didn't know what you were looking at. That was the
Yeah.
other frustrating thing.
Yeah.
It's like you'd see tentacles in one shot, and you're just like, "What part of the body is that?" And you'd be really confused.
Yeah.
I don't know, but the effects work on the monsters was really good. The design, I don't know, not so much.
The character development of the monster was not good.
And the character development. Yeah. I want to know, like, what drives this monster to be so evil? Like, what did they do?
I just want to know where it came from, man.
It's like a giant, maybe the Kraken has a giant oil teat, and they were drilling into it,
Yeah,
and it just got fed up. I don't know, dude.
who knows?
Anything. It could be anything down there.
What about some score? I don't remember too much.
Okay. So I did not like the score of this movie.
Okay.
I did not like it at all. And it's in there, but what it is, it's a bunch of
Oh, okay. It's just noise.
Yeah, it's all that like stupid sound effects like type score.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a Hans Zimmer thing. Like I think when he started coming out with like Inception in those films, that started to become kind of an in vogue thing in the world of like movie scores and stuff. And some people just ran with it. And I thought it was so generic for this movie.
All right.
It's like you hear it in trailers all the time, and it didn't really do much to like heighten my sense of fear or anything. It could have been completely silent, and I would have been more happy with it.
Just the silence with just the impacts of the Merkrakens hitting the rig would have
Yeah.
been much scarier.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember some. Yeah, so it's almost like a mushroomy audio hallucination, like wah, shit
Yeah.
like that. Not
Mhm.
really. It's not really music or anything. It's just
Yeah, it's almost like a synthesizer. That's what it is, really.
yeah. I don't remember it too much in this movie, but I was pretty engaged. So I guess I'm not sure if it's good or bad. But
Yeah,
I don't
it
have
didn't take
anything
me-
super bad to say about it because I don't remember much.
Yeah, like it didn't take me out of it, but I just thought it wasn't needed. Those are my least favorite scores, the ones that are more like sound effects, and they're just kind of there to like, it's like a stab of music there to give you more of a jump
Mm.
and stuff like that. I didn't get a whole lot of like anything dramatic going on. It was mostly quiet, and I think they should have just stuck with that.
Yeah, and just the sound of the underwater sound, the like muffled.
Yeah, like let the sound of like water be the score. Or even like give the monsters some kind of like audible, I don't know, whale sonar or something.
Yeah.
That could have been the soundtrack. But yeah. It wasn't my favorite.
Cool. What about let's do love hates.
Okay, you want me to start?
Yeah, go for it.
I loved everything really about the visuals. I loved the set design. I liked the acting. Everything other than like very specific elements of the story, mostly involving the monsters and what they're doing there, where they came from. So I love all the technical things about the film, minus score. All the acting was really well done. I love Kristen Stewart. I'll watch her in anything. It was well directed, I thought. And I loved that you get thrown into the story. Having said that, it's also one of my hates is that you get thrown into the story, so you don't really have time to go into like what the monsters are about. So my love-hate is the same thing. It's like being thrown into the story,
Okay.
which is kind of weird. What about you?
Yeah, I loved Kristen Stewart. She was my favorite in the movie. All the other stuff I liked the tech and the suits and the situation, all that.
Yeah.
But I haven't ever seen her in anything besides like interviews and stuff, and I thought she was awesome in this.
Yeah.
Really enjoyable to watch and really good at telling a big story with her face and her actions, you know.
Yeah.
And then I hated the whole monster. Sitch, just pick one and go with it. You know, don't morph the monster.
Yeah.
Or if you are gonna make it that crazy, just explain it a little more.
Yeah.
So,
Like, even if they just dropped-
if he did that, just explain how it was unleashed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if they've
Like,
been
even if
down
they-
there for that long,
Yeah.
you know, because that thing would have took forever to build.
Uh-huh.
They would have caught, you know, one of those little baby mer people krakens.
Like, they could have taken 30 seconds to drop a line like, this was in a report that I read.
Yeah,
Like, one of the first reports down here. Someone mentioned something like this.
yeah,
Like, even if they did that, that would have been totally fine. And then that probably would have made me feel a lot better about what was going on down there. It's like 30 seconds. That's all it took. You didn't have to go into, like, they came from here and did that. But even if they just dropped, like, a little contextual line about, like, they've seen these things before once and someone mentioned it. But
yeah. Or
Yeah,
I don't know. Or have like the rig hit something and like all they get on the reading is like, oh, we just punched through to like a cavity.
Oh yeah.
Like that's all that they figure out.
Right.
You know, like something goes wrong on the drill rig and they're like, oh wait, we just blasted into like a hole in the earth. And then they're like, fuck it, and they pull out, and that's like a flashback, you know?
Yeah. Something like that.
Something like that.
Uh-huh.
Just like unleash them somehow.
Right. No, I'm with you.
Because then
Well-
you can get real weird with it, because they don't have to be, you know, water animals necessarily if they're in a hole in the middle of the earth somewhere.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
kind of
you get
weird.
some, like,
It's like
Warlock fucking krakens.
it seems like we're either let's go completely ridiculous or we want them to go completely ultra realistic. Like forget the middle ground. Like give us one or the other. But yeah, it's understandable. I guess.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. So I want to know, where does this rank on your meter?
I'm going to give it 3.5 bong loads.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All the acting was great. The only thing I didn't like, and it really didn't even ruin the movie that much for me, was the monster was kind of a bit of a whiff.
Yeah.
So yeah, 3.5 bong loads. I smoked a doobie of some Zerpal. Trying to finish out that Zerpal. It's almost gone.
Zerpal.
And yeah, 3.5.
Cool. For me, I'm going to go a little lower. I'm going to give it a 3. Just because, like you, I had a little bit of problems with the monster. I was confused about it. And for me, in the middle of the film, there were parts where I was getting a little bored, like with their trek to the end point, just for a bit. But like I said, it started off strong for me, and it finished off strong. So I'm going to give it a 3. That's a solid score for me. It's a lot higher than what I thought I would give this film before I saw it.
I wouldn't say I was bored in those sections. I was like pretty anxious.
Yeah, I could see that.
The movie that had some points when it made you pretty suspense filled and anxious. I thought
Yeah.
that went on for a while. You know.
Yeah.
I thought that the shock scares were pretty well timed throughout the movie. They weren't overdone.
Yeah.
But-
Actually, my favorite scare in the whole film is when they're going through that collapsed shaft in the beginning,
Yeah.
and they come across the dead body.
But what
was
about?
cool.
I got one question for you. When she gets Homeboy Captain's old suit and puts it on,
Yeah.
when she has her little battle with the monster, how sweet was that?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that thing's got some serious power.
That was a really cool scene too.
Yeah, I don't
And I
want to
like how
give
she
nothing
just-
away because it's badass.
Yeah, that's true. I won't say anything either. But yeah, that was really cool. And I went back to watch it a second time, and that really stuck out to me the second time. I was like, man, that's a really badass little
Yeah, it's a badass scene.
sequence.
I take it back. That's my favorite sequence, even though the monster's in it.
Yeah. That
It's
was
like
really
a
cool.
23-year-old monster that she battles with.
Mm-hmm.
There's all different ages of these things.
Yeah, and like the effects at the end of that, how that fight ends, it was so cool.
Yeah.
So well done.
Really cool.
All right, I'll raise mine a little bit. I'll give it a 3.2, 3.3.
All
Not a
right.
3.5, but yeah, that was cool. But yeah, any final thoughts? Anything we didn't hit on? I think we kind of covered everything.
No, it was good. Watch it. It's worth it. It was worth my rental of $6. Totally
Yeah, me too.
entertaining.
And I think there'll be a
Stewart's
lot of
awesome.
people that'll dig this film, I think.
Yeah,
And if you do like
it's a
Kristen
good,
Stewart, you gotta
it's
watch
a good
it.
watch with some people. I think
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
a good little group watch. It's kind of jumpy and it's entertaining.
Mm-hmm. And for me, it's another solid outing from Kristen Stewart, as per usual with her, I think.
She's good.
Um,
This is my first go.
Yeah, well, maybe there'll be a few more films that she does down the road that we can do.
There will
But,
be.
But we will get there when we get there. But for now, that has been episode 23 of The Buff and the Blazer. We just talked about underwater. And thanks for sticking around and hanging out with us.
Peace.